Wait. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And welcome to the first installment of the Uniting Universal Recaps. That's right, folks. It's the bold 15th season of So You Want to Be an Imagineer. The theme was all Dragon's idea. The format was a little bit of all three of us, Dragon, Space, and I, kind of coming up with stuff kind of on the fly. Space suggested the sort of open brainstorming competition format where everyone could just jump in and out. I sort of worked it into the sort of Mega Man style choose your own adventure and the gold, silver, and bronze medals that we're going to get to. So a lot of stuff on the horizon, a lot of stuff to get to. Of course, Dragon and I will be casting our 2 votes apiece for the next project, which will be revealed tomorrow night. Project 2, of course, we did 2 Islands of Adventure projects for Project 1. We'll be doing 2 Studio Parks projects for Project 2. Anyways, Dragon, so for those of us who are just joining, let me kind of introduce the format, because this is it's a bit unusual. It's a bit unprecedented for So You Want to Be an Imagineer. Now, the idea here, folks, is that instead of competing in teams and competing on a kind of like project by project level, what the competitors of Uniting Universal are going to be doing is that they're going to be racking up medals. And essentially that means that you can kind of pop in and out of the competition when you want. No one's going to be eliminated. There's not going to be a traditional elimination structure or teams. It's basically going to be a series of open brainstorming threads that get conceptualized into a competition. So for Project 1, it started out, I admit, because the project is, because this is something that we haven't tried before, there's a little bit of a speed bump to it, Dragon. There's a little bit of a learning curve. And I think with that, it's funny because, Dragon, I swear, in the first 24 hours of the project, everyone was attached to Harry Potter and no one was touching Seuss Landing. And you and I kind of had to come up with some ideas for Seuss Landing that drove the narrative of that attraction. Lo and behold, a week later, we got a lot out of Seuss Landing. I honestly, I'm really, really happy with the stuff we came up with Seuss Landing. It's a very, very solid project, a very, very worthy start to the park that we are creating. Of course, one of the other themes of this season is that every project will connect to each other. Anyways, Dragon, so unfortunately, I'll give you guys an update on Harry Potter a little later, but unfortunately, Harry Potter did not get completed. Basically, what I want you guys to do is just finish Harry Potter on your own time while we focus more on Projects 2, on the projects going on in Project 2. Anyways, Dragon, oh my god, I'm so long-winded in exposition right now. How you doing tonight, buddy?
Okay.
Okay. So, of course, we will be voting for the projects in Project 2 shortly. But before we do that, let's talk about the main event here. Let's talk about the project that was compiled by everyone. Seuss Landing.
Sorry. I just wanted to say one thing just overall, is getting in the Seuss Landing. With Uniting Universal, it's kind of like something in the back of the mind is that with all these concepts for parks and everything, the idea is kind of revitalizing Universal and kind of uniting all these interesting new concepts together. It's kind of either revitalizing or just kind of coming up with something completely new that really isn't in the Universal park, or like basically stuff that we could add on to it or do new stuff with it. It's kind of from the ground up, kind of how do you revitalize Universal after all the mistakes they've been making these last couple of years.
And with that in mind, I think we got to a very, very good start with that, Dragon. One of the things about Harry Potter, I guess I'll kind of lead with Harry Potter just so you know how it ties into Seuss Landing. Now, Harry Potter was going to be another very naturalistic area of this Islands of Adventure. That's what we're going for with, I would say, the majority of the Islands of Adventure lands is kind of, I mean, I won't lie, it is very much inspired by Pandora and the incredible stuff that the Imagineers are doing with that. I won't lie about that. But at the same time, the idea for Harry Potter was essentially, well, it wouldn't feel right to not have a Hogwarts. At least that was, I kind of disagree on that, but I don't want to muddy the waters like Chuck McGill. I want to float the boat. I want to be a Kim Wexler making Better Call Saul references that I hope at least some people watching are going to get. Anyways, but you know what I mean? I was like, well, I would like my idea for the Harry Potter thing, and I ran this by you, and you seemed, even though you don't really care for Potter that much, you seem kind of intrigued with the idea, which is to do basically a wizarding school in Australia that would be part of the continuity of Harry Potter, but be a separate thing. That's where I wanted to go with it, and eventually what the team decided on was doing something akin to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, but doing something different with it, which is basically having a land that was one part an expanded Hogwarts castle. Whereas in Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Hogwarts Castle is just a queue. Hogwarts Castle would essentially be a whole side land of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. So it'd be this whole massive building you walk through. There'd be like at least 2, maybe 3 attractions within it. And then importantly, the other part of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter would be the Forbidden Forest. And this is where the whole naturalistic element would come in. We were going to have an attraction with flying Ford Angelinas, which would be kind of a combination of the enhanced motor vehicles for stuff like Indiana Jones Adventure mixed with like a flying element. And we were going to have an attraction where you were going through the Forbidden Forest, like going through spiders and getting, avoiding the Whomping Willow and stuff like that. But ultimately, I would really like to conceptualize all that. But the main thing to take away from that, Dragon, leading into Seuss Landing, is that Seuss Landing very much would be a transitioning point from the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Kind of the like Brothers Grimm style, like twisted fairy tale trees of the Forbidden Forest would make way to the colorful and cartoony trees of the Truffula Forest. And that would be a natural transition. And that, I believe, Dragon, is kind of what you're getting at with the Uniting Universal. You know what I mean? We're making essentially the goal of both these parks. Although I will admit it's going to be interesting to work with a specific studios park. I think Islands of Adventure is an easier concept to kind of meld these concepts with. But you know what I mean? Where the Forbidden Forest and the Truffula Tree Forest kind of mix. Is that like a good example of some of the stuff you're looking for?
Yes, in a way, in terms of like kind of ultimately bringing them all together like that. Yeah, yes.
Okay. All right. So with that in mind, let's get into Seuss Landing. Dragon, as a whole, what did you think of this this presentation?
On the whole, it turned out better than I thought it would.
Better than you thought it would. Wow. You're okay. Okay. How do you think it would turn out?
Well, I was really unsure because as Tiki pointed out, we had to kind of craft some kind of general kind of guidelines. I was just kind of worried, like I was, it's on the whole. I was just wondering, like, what people might have just come up with, just kind of throwing ideas at the wall and seeing what stuck. And my God, they really kind of stuck to the mold, and it kind of turned out kind of in the vein of what we wanted, but kind of exceeded that in a way. So I'm saying it was better than I was expecting. It's just going to be. Just kind of like your standard Dr. Seuss stuff, but no, actually kind of fit into like a very natural kind of land in itself. So,
I mean, this feels like a huge land. You know what I mean? It feels sprawling.
Yes.
Which, while might not be the most realistic, I definitely think points for creativity and points for ambition on that part. Okay. Anyways, Dragon, where do you want to start? Do you want to jump right into it with the Truffula Tree Forest, I guess, and just work our way down from there?
Yeah, sure. Yes. So, of course, the introductory point of the ride, I guess, would be, we're introduced to, it's very fitting that we're introduced to Seuss Landing via the Truffula trees, which, of course, is a hallmark of just kind of that great Dr. Seussian design. It's kind of like these tufts of just kind of like wild pink and purple trees.
Like cotton candy almost.
Exactly. Just all wonderful hallmarks of childhood as well. Cotton candy. Anyway, so basically, with all this kind of like just the introductory point of this land, it seems like it's lending a lot to this exploratory vibe that this land seems to be striving for, as being kind of a naturalistic kind of Seuss setting.
Sure. Like I said, Pandora was a big inspiration there, because I don't know how much you've seen of Pandora, Dragon, but as Jacob Weil described to me, as because he went there recently, it is like basically it's just like walking into like this sprawling fantasy environment, and it's straight out of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, with a lot of these attractions, I think a lot of them have this great immersiveness, and of course I've always said, I think the best quality ride can have is like putting you in the headspace of that franchise or what that property is. Putting you in the headspace of you're sucked into it. You're kind of break the illusion.
Sure. Dragon, you know what one of the most surreal moments I've ever had in my life was yesterday?
What?
So I went to go I went to go see Cars 3, as did you. We'll talk about that on Sunday on a spoiler cast. But anyways, Dragon, so as you know, I've been raving and ranting about how amazing Cars Land is in real life, at California Adventure. Dragon, it's creepy. It's creepy how genuinely, like, uncanny valley creepy, how similar Radiator Springs in Cars 3 looks to Cars Land in California Adventure. Like, it's uncanny. Every single detail is there. Like, I don't think the Buzz Lightyear and the Cozy Cone is there, but I was looking for it. You know what I mean? Oh, man. That was a trip for me. I'm sorry. I just wanted to kind of geek out about that for a second since we're talking about, like, immersive cartoon environments. Cars Land, I think, is a pinnacle of that, is a real life example to kind of strive for. That and Pandora, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways,
getting to the attraction itself, it's built around the Thneed factory. Of course, basically we're doing the Lorax. Let me have a smidge. It's the Lorax Flight of the Thneeds. That's
Flight of the Thneeds. Yes.
Everyone needs a Thneed.
Everyone needs a Thneed. A need is a Thneed. Yeah, whatever. Anyways. Right.
Yes. So of course, the idea of the ride is built around. It's more built around the factory than you and I intended. Kind of had pictured it, because we were kind of expecting.
Well, I mean, honestly, that was kind of me, because I wrote this out. This is all my stuff.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'll explain my thought process as we go through. In terms of the factory, I mean, honestly, I kind of came to a point where the naturalistic setting of Seuss Landing, I wanted to speak for itself in the actual land as you walk around. And in terms of the Lorax, yeah, you're right. I think the factory was once I got going on it, once I started brainstorming on it and decided on the Kuka arm and everything, that's when the Kuka arm. Basically, I had the idea for the opening scene of the ride. I really wanted to replicate the Lorax lifting himself away and then you going up with the Lorax. I really had that idea in mind, and I wanted to replicate that with the Kuka arm. And with that idea of the opening of the ride being that particular moment, that's sort of where the rest of the factory stuff sort of stemmed from. So that's my thought process going in on that.
Well, I mean, I still liked how the factories worked. I understand it was a little different than initially pictured, but it had a really good kind of concept to it. Just kind of, this, which, by the way, kudos to this kind of this rudimentary sketch of the Thneed factory.
By Jay Tuck, yes.
Yes. Let's see. But I really do like seeing the seeing the aftermath of the pollution around the ride. You see like kind of the pond with the sickly animatronics and the crows and everything. And basically, what I like is that I like how narratively you're in the shoes of the boys. You're at the beginning of the Lorax logically would end. And of course, then we get to the Onceler.
Yes. Now, this is probably one of my favorite ideas. I took this drawing from Jay Tuck, who kind of provided it to me as just sort of like, a jumping off point for something. And I kind of turned it into this little, this private section of the queue back behind the factory where the Onceler resides. What do you think of this, Dragon? Do you like the imagery I conjure up here?
Yes, and I really did like the little charity idea in the little tin pond. Of course, from the book, it's like the kid, throws a quarter or something in there, and of course, then he's told the story by the Onceler, and it's kind of a fun thing just going into the ride where there's also I think there might be a well as well, so that people just have any little bit of charity, just like the thought that counts. That imagine
right.
The park, someone's gonna maybe if they see someone starting to flip a coin, they're gonna continue doing that, and of course all the collections going to a noble cause, to libraries for children to read from, which I think Seuss would be really proud of.
I'm glad you like that idea, Dragon, because I was personally pretty proud of that.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So let's see. So the ride, I do like how we kind of enter the ride through the back of the factory. So I like that we're really building things around these two main locations of the book.
the Onceler in the factory.
Absolutely, yes.
Hmm.
And again, it's kind of neat that we're in the boys' shoes, where we're walking past, kind of like, okay, man, I wonder what kind of history is attached to this dark factory here, and then we're
Now, Dragon, I'm sure you remember the cartoon, right? Like,
of course,
not the Danny DeVito travesty, the real Lorax cartoon.
yes, the real, yes.
You know that somber as hell song that starts that cartoon off?
Yes, but I can't recall the lyrics.
The lyrics are basically the opening lines from the book. Grickle grass.
All right, now, yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, I get it.
Somebody lifted the Lorax away.
Yeah, really depressing.
anyways. Okay.
So,
do you like the idea of the ride vehicles?
well, here's the thing. So here's, as much as I really do like this initial Lorax attraction, there's one thing it's not saying that kills the ride, but something I do hold reservations with.
Okay.
I would have liked in the presentation. I would have greatly appreciated this. I love the conveyor belt idea. I love we start on like a conveyor belt essentially.
A conveyor belt of needs.
Yes, conveyor belt sneak. That's a great idea. I love that. But this whole, I think the kite's a little ambitious. This kind of the sneak kite flying idea. I like how, bear in mind, I love how it works. I love how we get to all these different points. I just wish it's a really, again, I need more to sell me on this idea, which I'm not getting just in the description for this ride. I didn't get the ride vehicle. I don't understand how.
I mean, I'm just not talented with art. I should have asked Jay Tuck to do something because Jay Tuck was willing to do more artwork.
Well, either way, I need to know, like how many people how they walk in the thing. Like, how big is the thing? Like, if how would this kite work fitting in all these bunch of people?
I mean, basically, if you want me to describe it, what I'm picturing is sort of like
what do you got in mind? Just like sell me on it a little bit.
Okay, basically like 2 rows of about like 4 people a piece, so
Right.
like 8 people per vehicle.
Yep.
And essentially the need itself would be like wrapped around the actual ride vehicle.
Okay.
So it'd be more of like it wouldn't actually be a like a functioning part of the ride vehicle. It'd be more for show, you know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas the actual ride vehicle would basically just be the Kuka arm.
Right. And Tika, you got to remind me, because all the Seussian names, especially going through this project, there are a bazillion Seussian names. You got to remind me specifically what's the Kuka again?
Well, the Kuka dragon, it's not a Seussian thing.
What?
It's not a Seussian thing.
What's the Kuka?
The Kuka arm is it's a very popular. Hold on. It's a very popular like ride vehicle where essentially what it is it's an arm, a robotic arm with ride vehicles attached to the robotic arm, and that robotic arm gives like a big 360 degree range of motion.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Can
See,
you
that's
look up Kuka arm for me really quick. Just look it up. Just look up an image of it.
All right.
Just so you'll have a mental picture of it.
Well, vamp a little.
Okay. Well, so yeah, as I said, I think like the original idea was to do this as a boat ride, but then we turned the places you'll go into a boat ride. And the places you'll go, by the way, is one of the things that I wanted to do, that I wanted to expand on more. You got it?
Yeah, I get what you're going for. So you're saying literally the Kuka arm is like, is there any kite at all, or is it just like needs being lifted by a Kuka arm?
It's basically like the need being wrapped around the Kuka arm, but the Kuka arm itself is where most of the ride vehicle would be.
See, there you go. That to me, that I understand more, like that weird kite thing.
Okay, well, I'm glad I took the time to explain it to you then, so we're on the same page.
That's the thing. I kind of would have liked to have that in the actual, in the text to kind of explain it to the layman. Okay, Kuka arms it's just the machine. But what? I'm sorry, it's the kite thing throwing me off. That's all.
Okay.
But that's the thing, because based on my going through the ride, I was thinking to myself, just to be simple, if it's like a conveyor belt that's kind of wrapped around the factory, so you can go outside in certain places and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so do you like the idea of the opening scene being the Lorax lifting himself?
Yes, and just to be clear, you're saying this is like we're coming at the ending of the book, right?
Essentially, yes.
Yes, yeah, Laura. I did like the opening of Lorax kind of pleading for us to save the forest while he's just going to take himself out of the equation. I do like that throughout the ride. The best thing I can say about this from a creative standpoint is that we go from the Lorax. Sorry, we go from being the boy to by the end we have the experience of the Lorax, and by the very end, we are then us dealing with the lesson we just took away from it all.
Yeah, right. I very much tried to stay true to the, and maybe that's why I focused on the factory so much, was because I really wanted to drive those conservation messages home.
Yep.
Because, like I said, the Truffula Forest kind of speaks for itself in terms of like the pretty naturalistic stuff that we wanted to get across with the land. Right. I didn't really feel a need to expand on that, anyways. So yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
In terms of how the ride works, I mean, I like this idea of, we have screens that would show, kind of the illusion of the outdoors from the inside. Basically, the whole ride does take place, at least for the most part, inside the factory, right? Well, and I mean, I know, and then we're seeing stuff from the outside. I'm saying, like, physically in the ride, we're on the inside, right?
I mean, yeah, I'd be in a show building, yes.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I know it's like we're seeing outside, but, we are, like, we're seeing screens that are from the inside.
Yeah, and, it is definitely, like, a big use of screens in terms of getting those transitions across, but also with the use of animatronics as well.
Well, I'm down for that. I'm just wanting to clarify, just to make sure.
So, like, with the lifting scene, like, you'd see, like, the screen would be, like, the feeling of you, flying like hundreds of feet above the factory, and then the Lorax would come like on a track as an animatronic,
yes.
Lifting himself away.
Yeah, see, here's the thing, like, as long as it's like that, I like that idea. Just you're inside the factory. It's almost like kind of like an old school Looney Tunes cartoon. Almost, we're like, oh man, like not just an old school cartoon. We're like, oh my god, I'm trapped on the conveyor belt. I'm going all these different places. In this case, you're stuck on machinery, and you're witnessing kind of the horrors of the factory kind of back in the works.
I mean, kind of, except the only difference is that your Thneed is kind of acting as a kite. Like, that's the idea. Is that all these kites are getting disposed of and flown up into the air, and then and then as the ride goes on, you're like just flying around at the mercy of the that's kind of where the out of control is. So basically, you're not really on a conveyor belt. It's supposed to have the feeling of like flight, essentially.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I get the whole thing wasn't on the conveyor belt. I'm just saying it's like we're like the working, like we're at the machine's mercy, right, to an extent.
I mean, as I said, it's more supposed to be like the wind.
Right.
Like the wind is blowing the Thneed around.
All right.
Anyways.
Again, I'm thinking like kind of the flight and the Thneed. That's the ambitious part of the ride for me, too. I guess that which is a little bit more kind of ground like. But I do like how we're moving around like that. I do like how we are getting kind of the aerial view. I do like.
Yeah, as I said, I mostly use that approach for transitional purposes to make the transitions easier.
That's the thing. I mean, yeah, you're right. Again, that serves transition very well, and also again the use of screens to simulate the outdoors, like we're seeing like the pond, I believe is like.
Yeah. Then we go into the polluted pond. And it's an underwater thing similar to the Shanghai Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite bits was the next transition where we have like the brown
barbaloots.
Yes, the brown barbaloots leaving as the last tree falls. That to me just described sounds really awesome.
You like that?
That was one of my favorite kind of visual takeaways. I just love this idea of like, okay, like from a distance, using the screen, you kind of see like it's like this symbol of like, okay, they're walking away because now the last truffle tree has fallen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then we get to the Onceler's Annex.
The Onceler's Annex, yes, and this is my personal favorite scene of the ride.
Yes, let's see. So this is, in a way, this is kind of when we reach the Onceler's Annex. It strikes me that we're at kind of the height of the greed of the Onceler and the family of Oncelers. The whole Onceler clan. It's like I like that we get like that first person at this part of the ride. I believe we get the first person view of the assembly line. That we get that spot where we're in the propaganda. Basically, we kind of we get the propaganda, kind of the World War II.
No. That's the next scene. The next scene is when the Thneed when we crash inside the factory. That's when we get the propaganda.
Right. Well, still, just speaking of the Onceler's Annex again, I just jumped ahead a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I was with the Onceler's Annex again. It's the height of the greed. So.
Yeah, but do you like the idea of like these hundreds of Onceler arms? Like, I think I think that'd be really visually impressive and relatively easy to pull off at the same time.
Oh yeah, it was definitely won over by that. Sure, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, then we crash into the factory, and that's where we get the assembly line and the massive amounts of truffle material just piled all over the place, and as you said, the World War II propaganda.
Yeah, but I guess here's what I was trying to hit upon with the one-star annex. So again, with the one-star annex is like we see them like they're all like in production of needs like crazy and kind of really kind of they're mass producing the heck out of the truffle
Hmm.
trees, and we trans. And I love the build of this ride. Here's the thing it's really doing, and like kind of narrative and story wise, we keep going forward to the next logical progression of okay, once the last truffle tree is fallen, and of course just that's just saying, okay, well, now the natural world's destroyed, and then we go to, okay, this is what we've done with the natural world. We're mass producing it, and on
Exactly.
the inside, the
Exactly.
horror, the actual horror of that kind of scariness of, oh my god, it's on this, it's on assembly line. Then we're having like kind of the hilarious. It's kind of funny, but at the same time, again, it's like, it's funny, but with kind of a scary undertone to it of this whole like the idea of this the propaganda of like, hey, everyone needs a need, kind of that put the bullet in the last jet type campaign for World War
Oh
II.
God. Right. Right.
Yeah, but put the bullet in your best guy's gun, that sort of thing.
Uh-huh. Okay. Let's see. So then
And
we
also,
had.
it is kind of a I don't know if it's intentional. Take maybe you can tell me. So I really love the propaganda. The last thing about propaganda is
Yeah.
that it's kind of a it's kind of a fun little reference to Dr. Seuss because he was involved in World War II with
Oh,
Stan
that was
Lee.
very much intentional. Yes. Yes.
All right, let's
Okay.
see. So again, this at this point in the ride, we're becoming more like the Lorax as the ride progresses. Being taunted by the Onceler in the following scene, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Now here's the interesting part of the ride. This is where things get interesting. This might be kind of a thing that I like it, but we have the self destruct moment.
Uh-huh.
So the factory goes in self destruct mode, and this is neat because this obviously is a deviation from the book.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Well,
Sure.
of the story, like the animated, not the movie, God, not the movie, but the animated, the animated special and the book.
Right.
I mean, honestly, when I think Laura, I used to go to the animated special, but yes, I know based on the book, of course.
Hmm.
So when we reach the self destruct, the self destruct addition to the ride here is kind of its way of getting us kind of a cathartic, happy ending in a way. Because again, there was like an uplifting message of hope at the end of the Lorax, but still, like we're getting a little bit more immediate kind of satisfaction from in a way we have a proactive happy ending. Then we were there and we kind of hey we accidentally got the factory destroyed, and I love the interactive truffle feel, by the way. That idea of like you have like all this truffle fur you can actually reach out and touch. I like that idea.
You like that? Yeah. Yeah.
But here's the question I do raise about it. Though. I
Okay.
wonder if just with that self destruct thing, as good as it is good. I'm just with the implication of it. I wonder if this compromises the message of the Lorax a little. We do something to help out, but kind of by accident. It's like not exactly us. Like the message of Lorax by the end is like, hey, you can change things, and here we're just kind of like, well, you don't need to change things. Just the factory's gone now, so problem solved.
Uh, I see what you're
I'm just saying
going
it's a
for.
concern. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it kills the ride, but I'm just saying it's something that I it like this ride we're actually being built. It's like saying I think it'd be like a story concern. Like, well, yeah, it seems a little bit like kind of spectacle and like kind of immediate. Like, yeah, we defeated Horus. It's still somewhat in the spirit of the books.
Having said that, like my goal with the ending was to very much take the naturalistic approach with it. You know what I mean? So that's where I had the whole idea of like all the overgrown truffula material that the Oncelers saved up and amassed, essentially saving the day at the end.
I love, and that's why I'm so conflicted on it because that's a good ending. I mean, I like that just that it turns into this. The factory itself by the end turns into this symbol of the truffle tree. It's almost like kind of modern day meets kind of the natural world sort of like ending for it.
Yeah, yeah, right,
So
right.
that's why I'm just pointing. I like it, but I'm conflicted about it. Just that's all. So again, it's still good.
And I see where your confliction comes from because, I mean, of course, the Lorax was the most personal Dr. Seuss book. The family holds a high regard to it, and especially after the god awful movie, I can see how they wouldn't want to, have anyone meddling with it. But having said that, I mean, I like, of course, we lived through the movie. Like, I think the movie is just sort of like
I'm
a
saying it's not as sort of an oxymoron as the movie is. The movie's an
no, absolutely
oxymoron.
not. The
There's
movie
not.
is
They're
just
not getting the
terrible.
message at all.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah. And
Okay.
let's see. So I love the Oncer gift shop. See, here's the idea with this gift shop. The Oncer is to me. I think it's like a perfect kind of exit for the ride because in a way the Onceler is still. This to me is like kind of a perfect kind of again, I'm still vaguely in conflict with it. I do love this idea. It's fitting that self-destruct ending. This complements self-destruct ending very well because it's like once they're still profiting, but now he's profiting, spreading the wisdom of the Lorax. He's spreading. He's selling the books, and he's by selling the books and then the truffle tree and the seeds and the remaining needs. So again, it's like he's still profiting, and he's learned a lesson. It's like he's not going to profit from the destruction force anymore. We're just kind of profiting from that. But again, kind of like the regret of the once that kind of goes away with that. So I don't know. It's somewhat of a.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
But again, it complements the self-destruct. If you're going
honestly, I totally hear you with the motivation. It's just, what can I say? It like every attraction needs a gift shop, So
yeah. I'm saying that's a great logic behind a gift shop. I got to give it points on that. So fitting just what where the cards have lied with the self-destruct thing, it fits very well.
Sure. Okay. And then you actually proposed this idea, which was to have this, the miniature truffula tree with the little speck of dust that would tease at a Horton Hears a Who ride.
Absolutely, yes. I was very proud. That one, it's the idea of again, this is the thing I guess I was really looking forward to with this track, and I was wondering how much this would kind of make it, this idea of kind of the natural transitions to the other sections of park. Basically getting it kind of I don't say what was in this ride to the whole park. There's this kind of this narrative from point A to point B of okay, this melds into this next this next part of the narrative. Basically, okay, how the heck are we gonna get from the Lorax, the truffle tree force and all that stuff to the jungle of Newell or to Whoville or to Mount Crown. How the heck are we going to get to all these different geographical locations? How the heck are we going to do that? I was figuring, first off, Whoville, of course, is a little speck and there's that great shot in Horton Hears Who, and the speck is on a little truffle flower. Mm-hmm. Well, it's a clover, but essentially it's like a little truffle clover thing.
I mean, the truffula trees were like a big Seussian design.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I was saying it's based on that little thing. Always look like a truffle. Is let's take that image and put it on a truffle tree, and there you go. Have a connection between at least two of your properties right there. And of course, Whoville, not only in Horton Hears Who, but of course,
Dr. Seuss.
The Grinch.
Crystal Christmas. Yeah. Anyway,
yes.
Okay.
Again, some natural transitioning points there. So I'm glad to see at least that made it in there.
All right. So as we make their way out of the Truffula Forest, we find ourselves at Mount Zorn. Now, Dragon, if you don't know, Mount Zorn is the mountain that's on the cover of Oh, the Places You'll Go.
Yes.
So it's kind of like that
yes.
Rainbow Mountain.
Yeah. I was a little let down by this one.
Well, honestly, this is kind of where the competition comes into play, where, like Jay Tuck said he'd do it, and real life stuff, I assume, got in the way, and he got busy, and it never got done. So Jay Tuck did provide a lot of good artwork, so I'll still acknowledge him on that. I just kind of quickly wrote out sort of a map description, I'll call it, like what you'd see on a map describing the ride.
Right. Again, I like the, let's see, I'm trying to remember here. It's, I liked the, I wrote my notes, I like the sign idea. I'm just trying to remember what the sign was. Oh, yes, I like the sign, pointing everything. Basically, the only one left you could actually go down was the Whoville.
Yeah, right.
So I really did like that sign idea, and honestly, it's not that I'm put out. I kind of like the idea of just kind of this casual, little, kind of boat ride.
Because Oh, the Places You'll Go is definitely one of the books that relies on artwork and imagery.
Yeah. So again, it's
replicate that with inside the theme park.
Yeah, here's the thing. I'm kind of charmed by it, but at the same time, again, little kind of casual boat ride, just seeing all the spectacles and then kind of reaching the sign, I guess. But it's just not really a lot else to it, and just with Places You'll Go. Here's the main thing. Sticking to what it was. There's one thing I think if it were added, I would have been a lot better with it. I think if they just added a little bit more of the thematic idea you have, Places You'll Go was kind of in that ride. I think might have played better, because basically it's hey, look at the spectacle, then we're there. It's not think of the spectacle. Oh my! The opening to this, not the opening. In the very beginning of this the forum for this project, there's a little opening statement about Dr. Seuss. It's the mother of creativity.
Right.
And I'm just thinking, oh my god, that something like that. I just love that. And we kind of glazed over. I didn't think it was super important. Just kind of the good. Fine, yeah. It was that opening scene was going through the project. That was a great tonal statement. You're getting in the right mindset for this new Seuss landing. I was figuring there's gonna be some of that kind of sprawled throughout here and there. And I think if it only could be in one ride, I think Places You'll Go would definitely be the place for it, because of course that's the book everyone gives to anyone graduating anything.
Of course.
I'm saying Places You'll Go kind of has a kind of a standard set with that sort of message. You have to have like something like, well, like, hey, good luck with all your future endeavors. Like, nothing. It's not really, nothing really
I
there
hear
for
you.
that,
I totally hear you.
it sounds
like
pleasant.
as I
just
said,
not,
I was mostly kind of just using it for the imagery of the book.
Yeah, sure.
So
yes.
Okay. So now we get to Mount Crumpet. This one was designed entirely by Coaster Ninja.
Coaster Ninja.
Coaster Ninja. All right, what do you think of this?
I'm sorry. Do you mean the art? Or do you mean the whole thing?
Just the whole thing, including
Whole thing. I
art.
liked it. And yeah, like, the art. The art's good rendering. Just if I'm right, it's
Mount Crumpet.
yeah. Basically, you enter through the mountain, you go up, right?
Yeah,
it's an accurate depiction. Yes.
Okay. Let's see.
I don't mean to sound harsh. It is. I'm sorry. It's good. Just it's, I don't know. The grayness isn't really well. I can't really do anything about that. It's like it's not bad.
All right. That's fine. I just appreciate anyone who puts in original artwork. So
I mean, again, it represents exactly how the rides work. You're going up on the inside there, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the actual ride, it's pretty simple. It's kind of just it's a little bit of a Matterhorn type thing.
I really appreciate the detail in this ride, though. We have I look at the Grinch's ego is with the jaggedness as described in there. I like that's kind of the Grinch's ego and persona is kind of personified in the ride. We see a lot of like the Grinch's personality in like the design elements of the ride.
Sure.
And of course, it's kind of a very simple kind of sledding down a mountain idea. Again, that works kind of wonders. And I love one of the best elements of this ride is building the Grinch reveal. That is one of the best parts about this attraction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
We build the reveal. We have kind of this almost sort of like a Splash Mountain type vibe in it. Almost like you see like all these little fun little Easter eggs, like kind of these fun little design elements in a scene where like we have Max's doghouse. We have
the red fish,
Grinch from
fish.
Yes, and we have like one of my favorites is like the Grinch from behind with a little tuft of hair sticking out. It's him, but we're not seeing it. Again, we're kind of teasing it like Norma Bates almost.
God, right.
And it's one thing I didn't like in the design. It was just very minor. Okay. I didn't like the idea of Grinch having like the family pictures of the Grinch.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean that was one of the things that really. I mean, I guess with the Grinch movie, it didn't really focus on the family. It focused more on the origin, but still, I don't.
It's like Grinch is like he's better. It's kind of more mysterious you get.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And of course, I do like the payoff of the excellent payoff of the full-blown Christmas Grinch kicking us off the mountain. That's a brilliant payoff. You see this fully kind of animatronic, I believe. Grinch in the full Christmas regalia, just kicking us off because again, it isn't like it's like, and here's what I'll do. Just kick you off the mountain. That explains the drop going down. I can't really weigh in like kind of the roller coaster elements of it, but just kind of going left and right. Just going down the mountain.
I mean, honestly, like one of the things, like I've never been on Expedition Everest at Animal Kingdom, but I always thought that there should be at least one more show scene in that ride because essentially it's just like it's the ascent up the mountain and then it's the Yeti fucking with the tracks, which leads to the drop, and then you see the Yeti. And I don't know. To me, this kind of feels like in the same vein of Expedition Everest, where it builds up the Yeti. Like this builds up the Grinch in much the same way Expedition Everest builds up the Yeti. But there's just a few more, storytelling beats to it, I feel.
Right. I think the feast was very forced at the end.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like the hey, welcome back. You survived. We're throwing you a feast. I didn't like that.
And to be honest with you, one of the key elements of this that Coaster Ninja forgot to include that we worked out in the brainstorming is that this was going to have 3 different versions. We were going to do for the spring and summer. Wait, hold on. Let me see. Yeah, for spring and summer, we were going to do a ride that would feature the Cat in the Hat. So it would essentially be like a Grinch's the Cat in the Hat ride. And then for October, or for basically let's say August through October, that sort of general time frame. We'd have a Grinch night. So you remember that short, right? Don't go out on Grinch night.
Yeah, vaguely, yes.
Okay. We'd have that for Halloween, and then of course Christmas. The Christmas time would be the proper How the Grinch Stole Christmas. So essentially, the roller coaster would stay the same, but there'd be like different animatronics and different versions of the Grinch and different show scenes.
Well, honestly, I think we threw around the idea of the Grinch versus the Cat. Now, I don't think we ever officially signed off on anything. So I think working Catnet into this ride would have been a little forced. So I'm glad we didn't do that. So I mean,
all right, fair enough.
In the Christmas version versus like kind of the regular version, I do kind of like that one though. But regardless, one last thing, the really nice gift shop and the idea of meeting the Grinch. I mean, that was a cool idea.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get to part 2 with Whoville. Now, of course, this is a natural transition from the Grinch stuff.
Yes, and again, this is a cool logic that we're doing here with the transition. So, okay, so we go from kind of the peak of Whoville, and we go down, hence the ride, and we're in Whoville.
Mm-hmm. Right. But
again, the same town the Grinch is in, which of course would take us logically to kind of the Horton Hears a Whoville.
Exactly.
An idea. So again, very solid transition between lands. I love the idea that we're sticking to like there's no straight lines in Whoville design.
I mean, that's just a very natural way to do it. You know what I mean? That's just a standard that was set by the original Seuss Landing that you kind of have to keep to.
Well, sure, but I'm saying, in terms of kind of the goal of this ride was to kind of stick to the natural world as much as possible. So if we're like taking a little bit outside natural world, I think making it look as unnatural, unlike kind of boring as possible, unlike kind of standard like city structures. Like, well, it feels like it's a great kind of like impasse between like all these kind of these wild lands almost.
Right. That's a good way to put it. And of course, the big difference between this Whoville and Seuss Landing, besides the fact that Whoville would be, a distinct location, whereas Seuss Landing is sort of an amalgamation, is Seuss Landing or Whoville would really just be a backdrop for Mount Crumpet, really. So Mount Crumpet would still be the focal point of the visuals of the area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in that way, it'd still be very much keeping in the same spirit of the rest of the Seuss Landing. Anyways.
Let me see here. So moving on. So we have other stuff.
We have some Mulberry Street stuff.
Yes. So I love this idea of this. Kind of takes me back to in Disney in Magic Kingdom. There's this like thing where you can walk inside like Mickey, Donald, and basically walk inside. The in Toontown, I believe. At least I don't know if it's still there or not.
It is not still there.
Oh. You sure in Florida?
Yeah, it's still in Disneyland, but not in Florida. That's where New Fantasyland is. Anyways,
that's kind of a bummer. Anyway, so they have formally you could go inside Mickey's house and all sorts of other houses and kind of explore a little bit. They'll kind of like they try to get you to like the meet and greet area for Mickey, Mickey and others. I think it might have been just Mickey, and the other meet and greet areas are like somewhere else in the park. But regardless, this kind of takes me back to that. Only it's in like a more elaborate kind of Whoville. Whoville kind of like the house. It's kind of like almost like practically Escher steps. I mean, they're not Escher steps.
It reminds me, not necessarily in theme, but definitely in execution. It reminds me of the old House of the Future in Disneyland.
In a way, yes. I kind of see that. Let me ask you this though. I just want to clarify because I kind of forgot this part. Doc Hoovely, that was Horton was communicating with someone in the Horton Hears a Who.
Yes, I don't. It's been a while. I don't.
Honestly, the movie is really fresh in my head for Horton Hears a Who. I know it didn't play like the movie. I'm just saying, like, if I didn't know if he actually communicated with like. It's almost like a collective talent.
The movie, unlike the Lorax, I think the movie, while being a variation on the source material, is a good sort of.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy out of all the Dr. Seuss based stuff, not counting, of course, just the '60s, the actual animated stuff. Horton Hears is probably the best representation of anything Dr. Seuss we had gotten.
I would say so as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't quite remember the book, so I'm not sure if Dr. Hoovy is a character or not. I want to say he is.
Right. Well, either way, I do like kind of this sense of friendship that kind of transitions us tonally. Again, puts Horton in the mindset like, okay, Doctor Hooverly, this character, if in fact Hooverly is a character from Horton, which I would hope so. Otherwise, at this point, it's going to be completely without merit. But you see what I mean? The idea of like, Doctor Hooverly and having this pre-existing relationship with Horton being friends is kind of neat. That we're going inside that guy's house and maybe have some teases to the Horton to the Horton attraction. So
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we have a couple flat rides, Green Eggs and Ham, which is a very simple car ride.
Now, Tiki, I wonder if you could briefly remind me, flat ride, like, what's the parameters for flat ride?
Okay, basically something like the Mad Tea Party or Dumbo.
Okay.
Basically like a carnival type ride where you, like, flat indicates that you don't travel, you know what I mean? You stay, like, while your vehicle may move, you don't, you're not on a track or anything
Gotcha.
like that. Yeah.
Okay, I got it. Sorry, folks. Some of the terminology's got me a little.
That's okay. Just let me know when you need help.
All right. Yes, we have Green Eggs and Ham here, right?
Yeah, Green Eggs and Ham, and then the Cat in the Hat cleaning service.
Yes, a recent addition.
Yep.
Yeah, so the Green Eggs and Ham thing. So I really do like kind of the 360-degree spins on this, and just this idea, it's like, we're being pestered by Sam I Am during the ride.
Right.
Yes, we're living down the endless sales pitch from Sam I Am for Green Eggs and Ham. I do wish there was more of a payoff, though. Like, yeah, but then again, I might be asking. I'm just saying, given the fact there's like some restaurants here, I wish we kind of like plug the restaurant or something at the end. Like, hey, the place actually serves Green Eggs and Ham. I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you.
Maybe not directly. I don't know. I was missing some sort of we didn't really in the ride just sound like, hey, it sounds almost like a Teacups ripoff almost.
Well,
I don't mean rip off in a negative way. I'm just saying the 360.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's a little more interesting than Teacups because it describes the the random milder intense curves. It's got a little bit, and you don't control the spinning. The ride is randomized.
Right. Well, sure, yeah. Teacups probably a bad example. You see what I'm saying? I wish it was some sort of the payoff of Green Eggs and Ham, of course, is like, I like Green Eggs and Ham. I like them indeed.
I mean, I see what you're saying. It's just, with flat rides, it's really hard to tell a story, so.
Yeah.
Okay, now the Cat in the Hat cleaning service. I mean, look, I'm not a big fan of chair rides in general, but I think this is aesthetically pretty cool. The one thing I have is I don't necessarily think the ride needs the fish as a narrator. I think the cat, I really do like the idea of the cat being up on top of the structure, like this, talking to us as an animatronic. That I really like. I just think with the fish as the narrator and then the cat interacting with the fish, as I said, Dragon, just flat rides are supposed to be really simple. So I just think there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm not really feeling this one for a couple of reasons. I'm not feeling it because, well, first of all, again, the goal of this thing is to kind of get away from stuff we have in the existing Seuss lanes, or at least revamp it in a really cool way. And well, I'm just saying, going with the natural world thing, Cat in the Hat feels out of place.
Yeah, I see what you say.
I think everything else gels into something naturally.
Because I think Green Eggs and Ham is kind of like a nice transitioning point from Whoville, where it's still a little bit urban, but it's still kind of, Green Eggs and Ham has that sense of travel and adventure to it as well.
Yeah.
Whereas Cat in the Hat is like one of the more urban of the Dr. Seuss books. So I see what you're saying with the out of place feel.
So there's that, because again, that's something I don't know how strict we want to be on that. I'm just saying that it was something like we were trying to get away from Cat, because again, it's already pre-existing. But regardless, it's that's a natural thing we just went through. But also, it's with the spinning with the chair thing. I don't know if it's based on this image. It's just with like the aforementioned additions. Like Cat and Hat, and then the fish, and then the thing one thing at the bottom. I agree with you. I really do like the idea of the cat, kind of with the animatronic head, just kind of like you manipulating things. I don't know. I'm not feeling like as a chair ride. It doesn't really make sense to me. Like we're going around. I don't really get the correlation. That's my big problem with the ride. I don't really see the correlation between cleaning and moving everything around with chairs.
Sure, I hear you.
I'm not crazy with that, right? I'm saying it doesn't really seem like much of a correlation.
What I wish they would have done is something like, you know how the carousel has the where you can turn the carousel horses. I wish this would have had some sort of like, maybe like, let's say, a dumbbell element to it where you're able to raise and lower the chairs as you're spinning around. Something like that to give it more of a mechanic, like an interactive element to it. I don't know.
Maybe.
Also, this isn't the best reference photo because that straight up looks like a prison off to the side of the chairlift or the chair swing. That
Yeah.
brown, oppressive looking building.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just saying, when it comes to reference photos, that's key. That's key. It's like it just looks like a very bland setting. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Anyways, okay. So let's move on to the food options, which I think they did a really good job with.
Yeah, I will say honestly, just on the park as a whole, and we're not getting to that section quite yet. But I'm saying after this point, I think after a few more of the attractions, they were going to start to get to this point where I think we could have lost some of these attractions. I think we went a little too big with this in places.
Okay.
Not here. This is like a really clever food attraction. It's the one I'm thinking of, which I believe, yes,
Mr. Ish's magical wish dish.
right. This is the one with all the fun food names, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, this was clever. Now, my only stipulation is that I would assume, and this would be obvious, as long as the translations are provided, this is a great idea. As long as the translations.
The translations would definitely be provided. Yeah.
I'm just saying it's obvious. I'm saying that's the only like kind of foreseeable problem. As long as we know what we're getting.
I hear you.
I don't want to just roll the dice and like, oh, what sounds edible?
Yawn in a pot.
And also, of course, the green egg stand must actually be green.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Now, of course, we have the hats, the 500 hats of Bartholomew.
Yeah, this was clever. I like this idea.
Yeah, I like how they're able to reference a lot of obscure Dr. Seuss books through the shops. I thought that was a good way to go with it.
I think towards the end we get a little too ambitious with the deep cut Dr. Seuss books, but this is like we're so really welcome territory right now. Like, yeah, this 500 hats was like it's like a very memorable cover, and it's very it makes sense, for of course, if we don't really before the last minute Cat in the Hat edition, I was thinking like, we're not gonna have Cat in the Hat. It's a way of kind of getting a little, kind of a vibe in there as well as hats from everyone else, and just kind of like, hey, Dr. Seuss.
Sure.
Loves hats.
Okay, now there's a Walk-It in my pocket. This is all Space Mountain. This was a fantastic idea, I thought.
I wasn't super feeling it. I don't. I think it's more of like. I think it'd be more of like a clever Easter egg. I'm not against like walking in the pocket. It's just I think the scavenger hunt's a little ambitious. It's a little. It feels like too much of a commitment for your average park goer who's not like looking for stuff like this.
I hear you, but the way I saw it was to kind of like essentially what it's trying to do is it's trying to kind of cash in on the Skylanders Nintendo Amiibo style, where the merchandise kind of becomes part of the game. You know what I mean? So you're purchasing these Walk-Its in order to, like the Walk-It, in addition to being a really cool souvenir that you can take home, you can also use it in the park in a creative and interactive way. So does that make more sense to you as I'm describing it that way?
It's sounding better than my initial read on it. Yes, which is kind of the using it, basically having kind of a bonus thing when you buy, as long as it's kind of made clear, I guess, in the purchasing. Like, hey, don't forget, you use your Walk-It for this.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the idea. Like, the idea for me is it's sort of like, I'm sorry. Are you more familiar with Skylanders or Amiibos? What analogy would be better?
Either one's a loser ticket, so whatever. I'm afraid they're a little lost on the Skylanders.
Okay, well, Nintendo Amiibos are little characters, like little figurines, right? That you can buy, that you can scan into Nintendo consoles, and essentially, when you scan them in, like you could either get various things like like power-ups or different suits, different skins for your characters, levels, stuff like that. And so that's the interactive reason to buy an Amiibo. But really, the reason why most people buy Amiibos is because they're really cool and they're collectible and they're, awesome to display on a video game, shelf. So that's kind of the idea of the Walk-It in the pocket. It's kind of like the theme park equivalent to that, where, when you're in the park, you can have fun with your walking. You know what I mean? You can interact with it. You can be a part of the story. But the main part of the walking in my pocket is, just the marketability of it. You know what I mean? The fact that there's a walking in my pocket. It's just like, who doesn't want to buy a walking? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, so the stories you'll read is just a bookstore. Pretty simple.
Here's the thing. I thought that was I do love that for like kind of like the main bookstore because of course the places you'll go very again for all the places you'll go, of course, very very notable book, very one of the most I don't know if it's the highest selling of the Seuss books. I know it gets sold a lot. It's kind of everywhere, so I would imagine it's a good seller. It's a best seller, maybe. Regardless, I mean, honestly, I feel if the bookstore was kind of like if the payoff of the place you'll go was like that bookstore there, I think maybe that might have played better it might have helped the other one out. But I like the bookstore idea is all I'm saying. Just like I wish it was kind of paired up with that.
I hear you. Okay, now I imagine this is where it kind of starts trailing off for you, Dragon.
No, I like this one too. This is
the pet store?
Yeah, the pet store. The idea of this, if I'm right, it's like a Build-A-Bear thing just with Dr. Seuss, right?
That's pretty much the idea from what I got out of it. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I'm feeling the way you do the walking in my pocket with the pet store.
Okay, interesting.
I'm just feeling that more like that feels like I went to Seuss Landing and I walked away with my little cuddly pet here and I made it myself and it looks all Seussy and I can go all Seussy and crazy on it. It's gonna be adorable.
All right, I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay, good stuff.
It's a cute idea. It's like that's the healthy. That's the more creative version of Build-A-Bear.
Okay, so now we get to the great Vegemite butter battle.
Oh boy.
Oh, you're not a fan, are you?
Here's the thing. I want to make it clear. I love this book. All right, I adore this book. I love the butter battle book. It was awesome. I love the idea of like working that in there. So just the idea, like initially, I was reading, like, hey, like okay, two competing stands. It's kind of neat.
Right, exactly.
It's really, exactly. I think it went a little too Australian. To be honest with you, like Vegemite.
Vegemite, I agree.
That's what turned me off. I get it that yes, it's in Australia. This is the part I'm sort of like regret the Australian thing. Like we have to go. Oh yeah, they gotta tailor it towards the location, I guess. I mean, again, I love the concept of this. I'm just like not thrilled about the thing itself or any of the food items. I don't like any of the food items that are throwing all this Vegemite on it.
I hear you.
That's where I'm at. It's a great idea. But one other thing. So great idea. One other thing. I'm not. At least you might clarify my read on this. This idea of like guests maybe having to jump over walls to pick between the sides. That's too much. They shouldn't do it.
I hear you. Okay.
Basically, assume all your guests are like the passengers from Wall-E. Just always assume that.
Okay, so Delish Fish, more Australian products.
Oh yeah, I just think so.
God.
Again, the Delish Fish are most likely candy. Judging by this photo, they're candy, right?
I'm pretty sure they're more like the goldfish.
Oh boy. Selling goldfish in a park now. Honestly, I wish it was more just kind of straightforward. No, I think I'm jumping ahead to something else. Well, I was thinking of the doesn't this tie into McElliot's Pool?
I'm not sure if it directly ties in.
Well, I mean, it's like I believe that precedes this a little. Take you at least one eye. Oh, the order was. Yeah, there we go.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so McElliot's Pool. This is starting to get into that area I'm talking about here. This, and especially after a few going forward, I think we're getting too deep cuts with everything. I think if we just made this like one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, just as the right side. I like the fishing game idea. So wish it was literally just one fish, two fish. Just make it simple and recognize.
To tell you the truth, like Figment Pigments definitely contributed a lot of this, but I kind of agree with you. Like, while there are a lot of there are a lot of ideas. I think at a certain point it just gets to be a little too much, and it gets to be a little too ambitious and too sort of in the deep cuts of it all.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like, if you're going to do anything fish related, I mean, again, like this concept sounds kind of fun. Like, okay, you're building a little fish and you can take it home if you want. too. But again, just like make it literally just make it simple. So like you're building like a redfish or a bluefish. Again, just like any of it. Like again, something very like instantly recognizable versus something like some people can walk away. Oh yeah, I did the redfish bluefish. Oh yeah, I like that book.
Right, I hear you.
And with that, I think the stand just also, which they have like items on the thing about like the redfish, but they have like they reference that, so I like that element of it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, just this is where we're starting to the point. I think we have too many snack and food stands.
Right.
I think the last one probably should have been again, if not with Vegemite, the butter battle.
Okay, and then Sneech Beach, like, honestly, I think this is all Phase 2 stuff, Dragon, so it's worth noting that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but here's the. I was so excited to see what was going to happen with the Sneeches, and we didn't get anything with the Sneech. Well, we got Sneeches, but I just wish it was more in depth. This is the stuff I was looking forward to, man.
I'm sorry.
Well, no, I'm saying it was. We scratched the surface with some cool ideas here. It's like, okay, a dark ride with the Sneeches. All right. We enter on the beach. We have this wonderful, little presentational example here with this photo.
I'd like to know where this reference photo is, by the way, because Dragon and I were kind of scratching our heads on it ourselves.
Very memorable. It looks very nice.
So if anyone has that information, like, Dragon, you mentioned it. It looks like that body of water doesn't look like something that'd be in Seuss Landing.
Yeah, it looks a little different. It might be Tiki thought it might be a resort, and that's the only thing I can really think of if it's not Seuss Landing, which it just looks too kind of nice to be. I'm not trying to insult you. I'm just saying like, the water looks too clean and too kind of posh.
Right. So what I'm thinking is that it's a resort hotel pool or something like that, but I'm not really sure.
Again, it could be on the deep outskirts. It might be because I don't know that the yellow part looks vaguely familiar, so maybe it's hard to tell.
Okay, well, of course, the yellow part is supposed to be like part of the Star Machine.
Exactly. So it's
now, Dragon. I'm sure you're familiar with the Sneetches cartoon, right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
And now, so basically, the dark ride is, I don't really think we needed to have a lot of detail with the dark ride because essentially all it is sort of recreating that great sequence where
I don't understand what Pepper's ghost technology is. What is that, Diggy?
That's the Haunted Mansion style stuff.
Oh, that's what they call it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's neat.
Mm-hmm. So like I said, the dark ride is a very simple sort of C-ticket, like carnival dark ride. It's supposed to replicate something like the old Fantasyland dark rides. You know what I mean? Like a lot of black lights and stuff like that. Very simple stuff.
Right. Well, anyway, I mean, regardless, I'm saying I love the idea of doing the Sneetches as a dark ride, especially kind of like a glow in the dark kind of star effect you could have. So, I mean, that's all good. Just again, why Phase 2? Why have a Phase 2?
Because they want to expand on it, and Dr. Seuss is awesome.
Oh. Well, yeah, I'm just saying, why not? Why can't we get it all at once?
Because of money.
Oh, right.
And also, you want to talk about, you and I go nuts about food animation, right?
Yes.
So you remember the hot dogs from the Sneetches short?
Yes.
Oh my God. Am I alone? Am I alone on that?
Yeah, did we get a food stand with the Sneetches?
Yeah, we got a food stand, yeah.
I might have missed that. Was it
Sneetches at the beaches.
I thought that was the parade.
Oh, you're right. It is a parade.
That's what I'm saying. You're selling hot dogs. I don't remember any food stands.
Well, you know what? I just saw the Frankfurter roast, and I was reminded of that food animation. So my bad.
Anyways, well, talking about the parade, I have the reservations about the parade. If I'm right, what they're suggesting there, that's going to be people in Sneetches costumes going around hanging out with people. That's a terrible idea.
Why?
I'm just saying for like basically being introduced. Hey, like the Sneetches kind of coming at you, and they're gonna die in those costumes. That's a horrible idea. Have mingling with people on a beach.
Okay.
Again, it's cute in its concept. I'm just saying, I'm facing the realities. That's a terrible idea. If that's what they're suggesting, that they're in full costumes, going to hang out with people. That's a terrible. The logistics of that are a nightmare.
So now I kind of just want to paint the picture of the layout of the land as a whole, where, of course, you have the thick patches of truffula trees as you enter. Mm-hmm. Then you have the factory, which sort of transitions us into Whoville and the urban area, and then kind of the beach, which then and the whole time there's like, the truffula trees in the urban area would act like, let's say palm trees in Los Angeles. You know what I mean? Like it'd have that sort of aesthetic to it.
Yeah.
And then as we transition, we get sort of the jungle of Newell. So how do you feel about that? Just sort of that naturalistic transition there.
Yeah, it was very good naturalistic transition.
Okay.
Yes. Of course, we get into kind of the Horton Hears a Who segment, so the section.
Which, it's a simulator, Dragon. That's all we got.
Yeah. This was like when I was going off on Sneak, I was really going off. I think it was kind of lost it for a second. Yeah, Horton. I really did need details on Horton though.
We didn't have details. All we had was simulator. I apologize for that.
Because again, I was getting inside. Like, okay, so we shrink down, and we're so I guess we're the Who's in Horton's journey. But again, that wasn't really specified. Just it involves shrinking, and then there's a simulator.
As I said, we didn't have many details. So okay. And then this is just all kind of just big, like the Wickersham brothers. I don't know. I think that wasn't really.
I really don't buy the Wickersham brothers. They shouldn't own. They shouldn't own a gift shop.
I agree. Do
you remember the Wickersham brothers at all?
Not really.
Well, it's just they're very, very not smart, so they were not running it. Yes, so the theater. Yes. Yeah. Well, first of all, excellent pull, just with the photograph there. Just really a deep the search for Dr. Seuss, if I'm right. Good memories. Yeah, so the theater. I think theater may be overkill, but I mean, honestly, I think if they scale it back, it might work a lot better. Basically, if you just do a few, basically not like as many productions as they're suggesting. You're like they cut back to maybe. Horton Hatches the Egg, which is if they can only do one, they have to do Horton Hatches the Egg to keep the Horton vibe alive.
Sure.
If it were me, I'd suggest Horton Hatches the Egg, Yertle the Turtle. Honestly, I think those are like the only main two you need. Anything else, just gotta be real smart about it. Just like so practically, you could do this and just kind of get people in a regimen of like performing the show.
Right.
So I imagine there'd be puppets involved. If they're smart, there'd be puppets involved.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, maybe too many shows on that one. So now we're getting this part going forward is where we're getting the part where we're kind of in overkill mode here.
And I agree. Basically, all of this is just sort of like okay.
By the end, I kind of ran out of steam on the end here. Just kind of going through that's it. It's like just kind of attacking stuff. You guys could end on a high note. Just kind of attacking stuff.
I agree. Look, and at the end of the day, this was really just kind of figment pigment. Like she really wanted to be ambitious with this, and she had a lot of ideas, but. I agree. At a certain point, it just kind of becomes a little like, because you have to keep in mind, like when you think of a land, like, you know what I mean? Like a land has like maybe 3 attractions, 2 or 3 shops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is, I don't know. I agree. It's a little overkill as well, but I applaud the ambition though.
Yeah. So let's go through. There's some good stuff here. So real quick, let's see. So the Big Bragg Trail wasn't crazy about it.
There's not much to it.
Yeah, just didn't care for it. Following that, though, the Clover Cliff, if I'm right, and what that's supposed to be, that should be that big awesome scene from Horton Hears a Who, where you have like that sea of those little mini kind of truffle clover things.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
That to me sounds like a really nice spectacle. So I know that out of all of these, I think that one's my favorite of these little last ones we got here.
I think that would fit right in. I agree with you there. Yeah.
So I'm all down for the Clover Cliff, man.
Okay,
sell me a ticket there now. Wet as you can get, it's not bad. More for kids. It's kind of like a charm. Like if we're gonna do like one that's kind of water's gonna splash the kid rides. Like that's not a bad way to do
it. Okay. And then Bird Brain Lane.
No intrigue whatsoever.
The only thing about Bird Brain Lane that I like is that it's just sort of an aesthetic detail to the land. Like it's not supposed to be an actual show or anything, you know what I mean? It's just kind of some animatronics hanging out.
Yeah, but it's literally just like we're listening to whispering and just kind of like gossip. Much anything there.
Okay, so that is the end. I kind of agree. I sort of wish it would have gone out on a stronger note, but
what I'm saying,
maybe gone out on Clover Cliff. You know what I mean? If it went out on Clover Cliff, I don't know. I'm just sort of arguing semantics at this point.
Let's not forget we have a really cool exit for the thing. We'll basically have like a Dr. Seuss. You have a Dr. Seuss quote. Well, they put it early again. There's like this tacked on stuff really feels tacked on because we have the let's see, go up a little. Quote. All right, it should be.
It,
You can go up a little. Going.
here.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
How did it get so late so soon? It's night before it's afternoon. December is here before it's June. My goodness, how the time has flown. How did it get so late so soon?
There you go. I'm a neat little exhibit kind of
All
poem
right.
there.
So, Dragon, let's get to your scores. All on you, buddy.
Yes. So, all right. So, I'm sorry for each out of
Each
so out
out
of 10. Sorry, I got it now. Okay, right, out of 10, right. Okay, so for the whole park.
Yeah.
Making sure. For creativity, I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna give him a 9 for creativity.
Okay. That's good.
Okay, realism. I'm gonna give him. I'll give him a. I'm gonna give him an uneasy 7.
Uneasy 7. I like the way you put that. You think it should be lower, but you're trying to be fair.
I'm unsure. Maybe a little lower. Maybe a 0.5. I don't know.
6.5.
I mean, like a 6 or 7.5. I'm just going 7 to be safe.
Okay. Fair enough.
I'm saying being harsh is probably is 6.5, but I'm saying part of me's like, I don't know.
Okay.
Go with 7.
Let's call it a 7. All right.
All right. Detail. I'm gonna give them 8 for detail.
Okay, now this is tricky because, of course, a lot of it is very well detailed, but then there's stuff like Horden and the places you'll go, which is,
I'm saying we really were strong in certain places with detail, and I did appreciate that. So, I mean, honestly, like we can't do 0.5, so like.
You can do 0.5 if you want.
All right, let's go with
0.5. All
right, 7.5.
Okay, 7.5. Okay, and then let's see, realism, or no, I'm sorry, presentation.
Okay, presentation. I'm gonna go with. We had some good photos
and some good artwork.
Yes, and some.
And keep in mind the formatting as well, the colors on the text and everything like that.
True. Was a little last minute though.
But, no, it wasn't last minute. No. I copy and pasted it, and then pigment. Like the way that this is the way that it was originally turned in. I just want to emphasize that.
Okay, never mind. I can miss the.
Yeah.
I'll have to consider there's the. Okay, solid 8.
Solid 8. Okay. I'm bad at math, Dragon, so what does that equate to? Let's see. Okay, 14, because we have the 2 7s. So 14 plus 8 is this is how I do math in my head, folks. I just talk it out. So so 14 plus 8 is 22, plus 9 is 31 out of 40. That's a solid score. 41.5 out of score. 31.5 out of 40. Solid score. Okay. Now, Dragon, we'll get to the voting on the project last, but I want to give out the medals. So, folks, of course, this is going to be kind of essentially throughout the season, you can win as many medals as you want to try and obtain. We're going to try and switch up who gets the medals, from time to time. I don't want it to be the same people getting the medals every project, of course, so keep that in mind. For the first project, I'm going to give the gold medal to Figment's Pigments because she came in at the really kind of at the last day and really took the reins on this, where really before she came in, the only thing we had concrete was the Lorax Ride and the Truffula Forest. So a lot of the other stuff is her contribution. So Pigment gets the gold medal for this round. Okay, now the silver medal goes to Coaster Ninja for his Grinch coaster, which was a very solid addition, as well as the artwork. Solid work there, Coaster Ninja. And finally, third place, we have Jay Tuck, who provided some really good artwork and also was very active in the brainstorming. Unfortunately, Jay Tuck kind of didn't. I assume he just had real life stuff going on, but he unfortunately didn't get to complete his portions of the project, but he still should be awarded with a bronze medal for his artwork and his active brainstorming. So congratulations again. That is Pigment with a gold medal. Coaster Ninja with a silver medal, and J Tuck with a bronze medal. All right, Dragon, it's time to get to the voting. So I'm just going to remind everyone what the projects are that we're going to be voting on. Dragon and I both have 2 votes. We can either use our votes on 2 different projects or combine our votes to cast 2 votes on 1 project. So, Dragon, of course, let's get to these. These are all Studio Parks projects because we worked on Islands of Adventure stuff to begin with. So the first project is for the first Halloween Horror Nights of Universal Australia in its inaugural year, create a Halloween Horror Nights themed entirely around the classic Universal monsters. Now, Dragon, of course, this ties back directly to what you're going with the United Universal. Arguably, Halloween Horror Nights has been a bit scattered the last couple of years. We've got the American Horror Story stuff. They've got so let's get it back to the classic Universal franchises. Okay. Big thing here that I'm sure will get some votes. Create a next generation Back to the Future attraction. This could be anything from a simulator to an e-ticket to a dark ride, anything you want. Of course, Dragon, our favorite. Create an e-ticket themed around Psycho. And of course, I'm gonna bend the rules a little bit, Dragon. I'm gonna make it as ambiguous as we want to, in regards to mixing in some Bates Motel iconography in with the Psycho iconography. We can talk about that off air as we brainstorm that. And I believe this now create a next generation Jaws attraction. Of course, Jaws being a very iconic Universal movie, sort of the start of the new Hollywood blockbuster movement. The start of Steven Spielberg's film career.
And again, this is also hitting upon some other big things with Uniting Universal, just kind of righting the wrongs of Universal, that we've gotten rid of Jaws and also
and Back to the Future, yes,
and King Kong,
yes. King Kong is in the Islands of Adventure segment, so that's why it's not here. And then finally, create a land based on the works of Don frickin' Bluth. All right, Dragon, here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to give a vote. You're going to give a vote. I'm going to give a vote. You're going to give a vote.
Okay.
All right. So my first vote is for the Don Bluth land.
All right. My first vote is for Psycho.
My second vote is also for Psycho.
Now my second vote is for Jaws.
Jaws. Okay. So we have two votes for Psycho. I figured you and I would both vote for Psycho. So we have 2 votes for Psycho. We have a vote for Don Bluthland, and we have a vote for Jaws. Sounds good. All right, Dragon. Any last words before we sign out here?
Well, to everyone who participated, I think you all did a crack job, and I think Universal will be lucky to have some of these ideas, because again, I think the end result was a really cool, creative land with kind of that. It's different than what's been presented with Dr. Seuss, but also again, I think fits in. I think it's the end result had a really great narrative going on. I think that's just something that's kind of like lacking from the existing Seuss lines. You guys kind of have to do what's already existing in a way.
Yeah, because I mean, I just want to emphasize with the original Seuss Landing, like I said, like the big plus of the original Seuss Landing, the big design of Seuss Landing that everyone sort of took away from was the whole curvy, wavy architecture and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And yeah. I feel like with this, it kind of takes into consideration those sort of architectural elements, but also expands upon them in a really cool and creative way. And so, yeah, I'm very proud of what we've done with this. Okay, and like I said, folks, please vote for, please get your voice heard on the next project. And until then, I'll see you guys later, and I'll let Monkey and myself from a year ago play us out.